Well, thank you very much for choosing KUTV Rise today. This is WCW Women Crush Wednesday. My name is Anki Dorisumbat, a new face indeed, but we're looking forward to amazing shows lined up for you each and every Wednesday. Once again, good morning, and thank you very much for choosing us this particular morning. We have just, concluded on our news updates, and I'm glad that you woke up with us. A few more minutes to go before we wrap up. It is 7:33 a.m. This goes all the way to 8 a.m., so you have to stay put until we, of course, conclude. Now, today we are looking at, gender issues. Of course, when you hear WCW, you expect me to celebrate a woman, but you do realize that a woman, goes hand in hand with a man in survival and, of course, political governance, etc. Now, this is something that is still eliciting reactions across the country. That is the 2/3 gender rule. A lot of Kenyans are not in the know, do not understand the Constitution. Some are just really following what political leaders are saying. Different arms of government have different takes on this. We heard, the judiciary rather saying, well, dissolve the parliament if you cannot go hand in hand with what they're trying to, of course, put across. But before I bring in the expert who is a lawyer to help us understand where the country stands, what we should do, dissolve or not dissolve the parliament, is it necessary? Where does that leave the women? The representation. Let me also know what you feel about this on 0739 110544. All right. Now, Generally Whaler, I'm just gonna, give you shout outs for being here. Thank you so much for for watching. Thank you so much for the welcome as well. It's good to see you too. Somebody here says, hello KUTV, you do have a great job industry. Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to always keep you on the know and, of course, give you the current affairs and updates now on gender issues right here on this particular show. Keep them coming, and as we discuss, I see your feedback is coming in. I will, of course, sample that in a bit. But before that, keep sending your feedback on this particular issue. Should we dissolve the parliament? Is it even necessary? Are women doing enough? Are men doing enough? Even the LSK president has his own council, and that also elicited a reaction. So with that said, I have a lawyer, and of course, he's going to tell us why the LSK Council looks like it does, if that is really the 2/3 gender representation as well, because they talk about the law, the Constitution, and which do, of course, trust that they should be able to implement it firsthand. That and much more coming in our intense discussion, but for now, let me take a short breather. You're watching WCW. My name is Anki Dorisumbat. Dixon is the lawyer. Dick, of course. The learned friend has, of course, corrected me, but when we come back, he'll tell you his profile, what he does, and his correct names. Good morning.
Chief Justice David Maraga has written to President Uhuru Kenyatta advising him to dissolve Parliament for failure to pass legislation required to implement the 2/3 gender rule. Maraga was responding to 6 petitions from the Law Society of Kenya, former Marakwet West MP David Sude, Ms. Margaret Toile, Mr. Frederick Mbugua, Mr. Benhard Aoko, and Mr. Stephen Owoko. They all argued that Parliament has been deliberately seeking his advice on the matter. Maraga's letter to the Commander-in-Chief read in part, and I quote, "Your Excellency, the 2/3 gender rule is an acronym for constitutional imperative which prohibits any form of discrimination in the appointive and elective position in our country on the basis of one's gender. It is grounded on declaration on Article 27, subsection 3 of the Constitution that states, and I quote, women and men have right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. In the result, Your Excellency, it is my constitutional duty to advise you, the President of the Republic of Kenya, which I hereby do, to dissolve Parliament in accordance with Article 261, subsection 7 of the Constitution." Even before the sun settled, Maraga received his first reaction from the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi. Firing back, the Speaker said it was unrealistic to dissolve the House over failure to enact the gender rule, Muturi said, and I quote, "We must not lose sight of the real challenges in implementing this matter and turn Parliament into a punching bag on the account of gender parity." End of quote. And is generally aimed at ensuring gender parity and fairness in appointments. It was among the businesses Parliament needed to do within 5 years of the promulgation of the Constitution, but has failed nearly a decade later. Maraga said the 10th Parliament held that it did not have enough time to enact the bill and sought the extension by a year. The Supreme Court directed that they pass the legislation by August 27, 2015. When the deadline lapsed with no legislation enacted, the first petitioner sought the court direction and Parliament was ordered to table the bill within 40 days from June 26, 2015. Maraga noted that it had become a norm for Parliament to fail in adhering to court orders. It remains to be seen what President Uhuru Kenyatta's reaction to Maraga's advice will be. This is given that the political culture has been male-dominated and all this orchestrated by party policies.
Well, that report there by Irene Mwangi is enough for us to start this particular discussion on the two-thirds gender rule representation that is currently having as witness the three arms of government have a point of contention. Also now Kenyans are talking about dissolve or do not dissolve the parliament. But do Kenyans really understand what this takes? Thank you very much, Dixon, for being here. I understand that you are, well equipped with the knowledge of the Constitution, and not only the Constitution, but advocacy. You do stand for both human rights, human rights is both men and women, civil rights. But first I want the viewer to hear your voice, know who you are, and of course, give yourself a proper introduction. Welcome, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Ms. Doris. To our viewers, good morning. My name is Osala. I'm a lawyer at Mudhomi and Karanja Advocates, and I'm happy that you invited my humble self to be here with you today, so that wisdom can flow.
Absolutely, wisdom can flow. We're glad to have wisdom flow from you.
Yes.
Now, of course, wisdom has to come hand in hand with a bit of more knowledge and understanding. So we are glad that you're here.
Sure.
And just to go straight because of time, straight to the point, what we are here to discuss is what is now eliciting, reactions, dissolve or do not dissolve the parliament. What actually drove us here as a country is matters concerning the two-thirds gender rule or representation, as many would refer to it. Now, I just wanted to bring the viewer closer home because I'm sure most of us who are following the conversations and the contention really do not understand in the first place how we got here. Why do we even have the two-thirds gender rule? When was this promulgated, 2010 or not? Let's just hear from your legal, point of view.
Well, Ms. Doris, for us to understand why we are here, we must understand what is the two-thirds gender's role. And when you ask yourself what is two-thirds gender role, there are two approaches.
Okay.
One, you can give a basic definition. Two, you can give the advanced definition. So the basic definition, basically it means that whenever there is a position that requires appointment or there's a position that requires someone to be elected, there should not be more than two-thirds of the same gender.
Okay.
Of course, remember, we have a female, male, and then we have people that with both genders.
Okay.
Yes. So it does not say that male or female, just say two-thirds people with the same gender. So that's the basic definition. Now, but if you want now to look at the advanced definition of what really two-thirds gender role is, then there are articles in the Constitution. There are 8 articles in the Constitution. These 8 articles combined forms what we call the two-thirds gender role.
All right.
Yes, so I will give you a list of the articles. So we have Article 10,
All right.
2. We have Article 27, that is 3, 6, and 8.
Okay.
We have Article 81B. We have Article 91 F. We have Article 175C. We have Article 177 and Article 197. Now, this combined, they form what we call the third gender role.
Okay.
Basically, what these articles talk about is that in any elective or appointive position, there must be never more than 2/3 of the same gender. So that is basically what this particular, this is where this rule is grounded. Yes.
So that as we speak, it is a law.
Yes,
It is
basically.
not just speculation.
It is
The
not
viewer has to
speculation.
understand there are several
Yes.
articles, and this is a very proper law.
Yes, you see, our viewers voted in the Constitution, and it is them who spoke about these articles. It is them who brought to life this particular rule. So what has been happening is that people have not understood what really this thing is. And if I give you an example, Ms. Doris,
Yes.
under Article 27, the mandate or the responsibility to legislate on the 2/3 gender rule is not exclusively given to the legislature.
All right.
The mandate rests on the state, and we need to ask ourselves, what is a state?
Okay.
The state is us, the citizens.
All right.
The state is the government, which is formed by the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature.
All the three arms.
All the three arms.
Okay.
So the mandate does not lie with the parliament. The Constitution says the state has a responsibility to ensure that the corrective measures are taken to ensure that the 2/3 gender rule is realized.
All right. Now, as we're speaking, therefore, you are saying that what we are witnessing as a contention is what is expected, because they have a voice. All these arms of government have a role to play, have a voice.
Including you have a role to play on this 2/3 gender rule.
All right. Now, when you talk about including me as a citizen, therefore,
Yes.
We've had different leaders come out. Not all of I wouldn't really mention, but if you've been following, there's some who therefore have said, well, let's go to the referendum. Let the mwananchi now therefore decide.
Let me now explain why everyone has been on the neck of the parliament.
Okay.
So you see, as a citizen, the only way you can communicate your voice is through voting.
Okay.
Of course, you voted your leaders. Now, once you voted your leaders, these leaders include the parliamentarians. Now, you've given that mandate now to legislate. Now, it is upon them to legislate. But again, this rule does not only say that it's only the parliament to legislate on it. So it means that the executive should take measures, and as you can see, the executive has not been able to do that, even in the appointive positions. The judiciary should take the initiative. The judiciary as well has failed on it.
All right,
at the Supreme Court. The parliament has failed.
Now, if these people are failed, because what you're mentioning is failure.
Yes.
All right. How is this then how we got to dissolve the parliament? You know, is this what got us to, okay, now dissolve it so we can start afresh?
You see, the interesting part is the Constitution provides for us for a default mechanism how we can ensure that the parliament actually legislates on the law. But the Constitution itself does not give us mechanisms on how to hold the executive and the judiciary responsible. So because we have a mechanism in the Constitution, basically we are just utilizing it to make sure that the parliament does its job. But one thing I also want to point out,
All right.
the current contention is not really about whether the parliament has legislated that law or not.
All right.
It's about disobedience of court orders.
All right. Now
Yes.
bring us closer home.
Now you see, I've said that the Constitution under Article 27 places the responsibility on the state, and I've said the state is the citizen, the government, and there's the executive, legislature, and the judiciary.
Okay.
Now, the legislature part of it is supposed to make sure that within the parliament there is they achieve the 2/3 gender rule, and this was to be achieved within 5 years from 2010, on 27th August 2010.
All right.
So that means that if you add 5 years, it would have been 2015 August 27th. So they were supposed to realize this particular rule by then. So
Now we are at 2020.
yes, we are 2020 now.
Yeah.
Because they failed by then, the first step was the then Attorney General approached the Supreme Court. on an opinion. He wanted an opinion from the Supreme Court on what will happen to the parliament should they not legislate on this particular rule.
Okay.
So they were advised that this particular rule first, it is to be realized progressively, meaning that it's supposed to take time. It is not something that you wake up one morning and say, today we have the rule.
No, okay.
Everyone is now happy. So what happened is that they got that opinion. They were told that it's supposed to be progressive, and supposed to be. They were told that take measures that by 27th August 2015, we have this law in place. They failed. That was the first time they failed.
Because of time, we are going to, you know, try. I know we need to look at this, you know, extensively. Okay. But we're seeing a lot of failure, even as you continue. Okay. I know as you continue to also explain the parts where they have failed, you'll also try and explain the repercussions of if we dissolve the parliament.
That's where I'm getting to. I want to tell you why we have to dissolve that parliament. Okay. The reason we have to dissolve that parliament is, one, they failed in the first Supreme Court opinion. Two, the Constitution says that you can petition the High Court.
All right.
If the parliament fails to legislate. There was a petition. There was a declaratory order telling the courts, the parliament to legislate within 60 days. They ignored that order. Instead, they appeal.
Okay.
And for purpose of reference, if you want to do those particular petitions, you can check at petition 371 of 2016.
They can get that online.
Yeah, that one I can even give you a copy. I always work with the evidence.
If I'm not honored, ladies and gentlemen.
So this is the petition that there was a declaratory orders. That is petition 371, and then the parliament appealed that decision in the civil appeal 148 of 2017, which was dismissed.
Okay.
And they were directed, go and legislate. That
Thank you
what?
very much.
Go and legislate on that particular law.
All right.
They failed again.
All right.
Ignoring the court order, telling them, go and legislate.
So this is, now, you know, we are following closely. A lot of people just saw the Chief Justice bring out this, but they did not understand.
The Chief Justice was not just working from the blue.
Or from emotions, as some people
He was following the Constitution. You know?
Okay.
So, once they failed to adhere to that particular decision, again, the Constitution gives us a default mechanism. It says that, again, if the parliament fails to legislate on that particular law as provided for under Article 261, therefore, that is 261, you know, when you read 261, 5, 6, and 7. Now, you can petition, even you can petition the Chief Justice to dissolve the parliament.
When you say even you mean even the
Any
viewer?
Kenyan, any Kenyan.
Any Kenyan.
Yes, it is not a specific person.
Power of the people, by the people.
Yes, let me just read for you that particular, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we will read that for the sake
course.
of the viewer, because this is very important, even as we celebrate women. The reason why we're discussing this is to, of course, understand why it is not just about, you know, representation. Women are making noise in political representation seats. Let us just understand what you're going to read as we also summarize on why this topic is very important this morning. Yes, please. Karibu.
So, Article 261, it says that should the parliament fails to obey the court orders that say that they are supposed to legislate. Now, it is about the order now. The order telling you to legislate. If you fail to obey that particular order, now, any person can now petition the Chief Justice to dissolve the parliament.
Okay.
Now, that is a repercussion of failing to listen to court orders. Now, this is a country that is supposed to be governed by the rule of law, and therefore we follow the rule of law.
Okay.
So, the Chief Justice received 6 petitions requiring him to advise the president to dissolve the parliament. The Chief Justice acted on those petitions and advised the president accordingly. And he said, you see, the Constitution says, the Chief Justice shall advise the president and the president shall dissolve the parliament. And that has attracted a lot of debate. And you see, I was laughing and, you know, wondering why people are debating of the word shall. I never saw such things.
Excuse me.
In 2013, 2017, when we had presidential disputes petitions You see, the Constitution says under Article 140
I hope
that when there is a presidential petition, the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice through Supreme Court shall hear and determine it within 14 days. Within 14 days, it shall be heard and determined. It shall be heard.
It shall be heard and determined. I think when you
It is not
speak to
may
my
be
viewer,
heard. It is shall be heard. Meaning you have to.
Now, when you read the Constitution, the shall means
the
you have to do
president
it.
shall dissolve the parliament. You have to dissolve it.
All right, okay.
Unless
thank
you
you
want to act with impunity.
Thank you very much. Now, that is a learned friend and being very clear on the Constitution because you are speaking the law. This is not assumptions.
Of course.
This is not, how do you call this, hypothesis.
Of course.
But, of course, the reason why we're here is because of, you know, talking about men are more in the parliament, are they not?
Of course they are.
All right. Now, if you know, the Mwananchi...
Maybe I did make that clear about this particular rule again.
Yes.
You see Article 177 and Article 195.
All right.
This speaks to with regards to county assemblies.
Okay.
So those particular articles, they say that there be special seats in those county assemblies. Special seats.
Okay.
To ensure that 2/3 general rule is achieved.
All right.
But there is no express provision speaking about the parliament, how the parliament will be constituted.
So that's a loophole, is it?
So that is what actually the parliament it was expected to legislate on, so that they ensure through legislation that that particular rule is met within parliament.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, allow me to call you that because you have been very, very strong, you know, on matters constitution for now.
Yes.
Therefore, the Mwananchi needs to understand, the viewer needs to understand. I've had people send in messages and say, well, if we dissolve the parliament, we're going to have to go back to the ballot and elect almost everyone, including the governors, senators. But I do not think this is the case, is it? They need to understand then what comes with that.
Of course, the advice to the president raises both a political question and a rule of law question. As someone who stands for the rule of law, it does not matter whether we are going anywhere. We follow the law. We go through what the Constitution says. It says dissolve it. Once you dissolve it, there is supposed to be a by-election or a general election. But what I know, you cannot justify impunity on the basis that we will have go for another election, it will be expensive.
No, that is not the point. That is not the point. The viewer needs to understand what is the law. I understand what you're saying.
The law says.
But what is the law if we dissolve the parliament?
If we dissolve the parliament today, or no, actually it does not be dissolved. If the president dissolves the parliament today, this is what happens. All the parliamentarians will pack and go home. All of them.
Member of parliament.
All the member of parliament.
Including women
whether nominated or otherwise. Nyumbani.
Nyumbani.
Yes.
Okay.
So, once they are gone, the next thing is we will have a by-election.
Okay.
And the Constitution again provides for that.
All right.
That there will be a by-election where we will have to elect new members of parliament. But again, remember now, the mandate again has been thrown back to the citizens. You can either, through that election, ensure that there is 2/3 in the rule by electing more women. But two views have arisen about when we go to election. Will these new parliamentarians serve the remaining term?
Okay.
Or will they go for a fresh 5-year term? The law is not very clear on what will happen on that, but in my considered view, this would be the best thing to happen. If we have the new parliamentarians, let them go for the full 5 years.
Okay.
So that the reason why I'm saying this, the rationale for this is this. There has been a link between the presidential election and the parliamentary elections. So if we can always link these two elections, it will be good for the country,
for the nation,
in terms of the influence and all that, and electing more productive leaders. Yes, because you know when it is either you are in the wave of the president or not.
Yeah, all right.
So I think if they have served their full 5-year terms, then there will be the link between the presidential elections and the parliamentarians.
Okay.
But if they don't, then it means that they will serve the remaining term, then we again have a new general election.
And of course, Dixon, I'm sorry to cut you short, but of course I hope that you guys are following closely this particular discussion. Let me know how you feel about what we are discussing on 0739 110544, 0739 110544. Now, as we wrap up, I don't think it was, the promulgation was just, something for the show. Having to suggest this kind of, arrangement, the two-thirds general rule. What is the importance of having this, in governance?
Oh, of course, our constitution was transformative in character. The constitution was trying to instill or establish an egalitarian society where men and women are considered equal in both social, political, and economic spheres. Therefore, when we have more women in power, that has been the question: why do we need more women in power? For me, it is the basic understanding.
All right.
We hold different perspectives, and these different perspectives are very important in policy formulations, which finally will end up to be the laws if taken through parliament. Therefore, for me, I believe that we need more women.
Okay.
First, as a basic to empower them, because when you are there, you're already working, so basically you are empowered economically.
Okay.
But again, for purposes of having the perspectives balanced when there's a policy formulations.
All right.
So it is very important.
So
in
it
that
is
regard.
important.
Yes.
It is just not, we are favoring them because culture and society have, made them look.
And again, you see, the constitution was transformative in the sense that it was trying to redress those discriminations that was there in the past.
The marginalization.
Trying to bring people to the same standard. And I think it was a good constitution, and we needed to respect it.
Dixon, thank you so much for shedding light on these matters that, of course, the common mwananchi needs to understand. Now, in just 1 minute, I don't want to say 60 seconds.
Yes.
Could you give us your final remarks on, of course, what's going on, and just give us something, that we need to take home?
Two-thirds gender rule is not necessarily a legal problem. This is both a legal problem, of course, and a societal problem. You see, the first people that we should hold accountable for failure to achieve third gender rule is ourselves. Absolutely. It is us who vote the majority of men in parliament. Therefore, that in itself reflects on our attitude towards the leadership of women. But of course, the first step would be to, of course, legislate on the law. But it is important to let Kenyans know that even if, of course, Parliament has power to legislate on a two-thirds general rule that will affect the entire nation.
Absolutely.
But what actually has been the problem is legislating on this law with regards to representation of women in Parliament. So they can legislate today, and of course there will be new members of Parliament, which will be fine. Again, if Parliament is dissolved today, it means that we will have to go for an election. We can still elect the same men. But how will we now again address this particular problem again?
All right.
This can again be done through nomination. But people have argued it's expensive because, for instance, right now, if you were to nominate, we'll have to nominate about 100 women.
Okay, so a lot of things, in one mix, but I do hope that Kenyans can follow closely. Lead yourselves as well, and go deep and get the Constitution. It's online. You can visit law firms. You guys, I know sometimes you should give us pro bono consultations. I've seen you go out and facilitate pro bono. A lot of friends are watching, they're thinking it's not a good idea.
Of course.
But Dixon, thank you so much for being here on set with us today,
okay,
for creating time to, of course, shed light on representation and governance, and especially dissolve or not dissolve the parliament. We are so honored to have you. See you again. Will you come again?
Of course. You have to benefit from the oracle of wisdom.
Do they even know what oracle is?
Oh, tunagota.
All right, guys, so do not go too far away. We come back with some fun facts and, of course, our Woman Crush Wednesday of the day.